Hello, welcome to the vault. What if trying to make everyone happy is the fastest way to lose yourself? This is the story of a man who said yes to everyone until one moment forced him to finally say no, and what happened next changed everything. His name was Chris, 32 years old, living in Seattle. Chris was the guy everyone called when they needed something. Help moving furniture, last-minute work coverage, free advice, a shoulder to lean on, borrowed money. Chris always said yes. Always showed up, always made it work. People called him reliable, dependable, a good guy. Chris wore those labels like badges. He thought that's what made him valuable. That's what made him loved. He was wrong. Chris worked in IT support, decent job. But he stayed late constantly, covered shifts for coworkers, fixed personal computers on weekends, never charged friends, never said he was too busy, never set boundaries. His manager knew Chris would absorb any extra work. His coworkers knew Chris would bail them out. His friends knew Chris would drop everything. So they asked and asked and asked. Chris's calendar was full of other people's needs. His bank account thin from lending money he couldn't afford to lose. His apartment cluttered with projects he'd agreed to help with. His energy depleted from being everyone's solution. But he kept saying yes, because saying no felt selfish. Saying no meant disappointing people, and Chris had built his entire identity on never disappointing anyone. Do you know that trap? The one where your worth depends on your usefulness. Chris lived there. The breaking point came on a Thursday. Chris's sister was getting married that Saturday. He'd promised to be there early, help set up, be present. Family first, he'd told himself. Wednesday night, his coworker texted, "Emergency." Could Chris cover his Friday night shift and work through Saturday morning? The coworker had concert tickets, non-refundable, really counting on Chris. Chris stared at the message. His sister's face flashed in his mind. He typed, "I can't, I have my sister's wedding." He felt physically ill hitting send. Guilt crashed over him like a wave. The coworker replied immediately, "Come on man, I covered for you that one time. I really need this." That one time was 2 years ago. One shift, but guilt has a long memory. Chris deleted his response, wrote a new one, "Okay, I'll make it work." He called his sister. Explained he'd be late to the wedding. Work emergency. He heard the disappointment in her voice, felt it in the silence that followed. But he'd already said yes. He couldn't back out now. Friday night, Chris worked the shift, exhausted, resentful, watching the clock. Saturday morning, he rushed to the venue, late. The setup was done. His sister was stressed. His mother was cold. He'd missed the family breakfast, the getting ready moments, the laughter. He'd chosen a coworker's concert over his sister's wedding preparation. During the ceremony, Chris stood in the back, watching his sister marry the love of her life. She looked beautiful, happy, and he'd almost missed it entirely for concert tickets that weren't even his. Something cracked inside him, a realization so obvious it hurt. He'd been saying yes to everyone except the people who actually mattered. He'd been available to everyone except himself. After the ceremony, his sister found him. She didn't yell. She just looked tired. "Chris, you're always doing things for other people. But when it comes to the people who love you, you're never fully here. We don't need you to be perfect. We just need you to show up. Actually show up." The words landed like stones, heavy, true, undeniable. That night, Chris sat in his apartment, empty, exhausted, surrounded by evidence of his people-pleasing. Unpaid invoices for work he'd done free, and returned borrowed items. Unanswered texts from people who only reached out when they needed something. He realized he'd been operating on a lie. He thought saying yes made people love him, but it didn't. It made people use him. There's a difference between being loved and being convenient. Chris had spent years being convenient. Monday morning, Chris made a decision. No more automatic yes. No more guilt-driven help. No more sacrificing himself to avoid disappointing people who wouldn't do the same for him. His coworker asked him to cover another shift. Chris said, "No, I'm not available." No explanation, no apology, just a boundary. His coworker pushed. "Seriously, after I covered for you?" Chris held firm. "I'm not available." The coworker was annoyed. Chris felt guilty. But he didn't change his answer, and something surprising happened. The coworker found someone else. The world didn't end. Chris's value didn't disappear. He just stopped being the path of least resistance. A friend asked to borrow money. Again, never paid back the last loan. Chris said, "I can't help with that." The friend guilt-tripped him, made him feel selfish. Chris felt the old pull, the urge to cave. But he remembered his sister's face. He held the boundary. That friend stopped calling. And Chris realized they weren't friends, they were users. Over the next months, Chris's life transformed. He had time, energy, money, clarity. Some people disappeared from his life. That hurt at first, but then he realized those people only valued what he gave, not who he was. But other relationships deepened. His sister called more. His real friends respected his boundaries. His mother noticed the change. "You seem lighter," she said. Chris learned the hardest lesson of his life. You cannot be everyone's hero without becoming your own villain. Every yes to someone else was a no to himself. Every boundary he failed to set was a piece of himself he lost. 1 year later, Chris's life looked different. Smaller in some ways, fewer people, fewer commitments, but richer, deeper, more authentic. He showed up for the people who mattered, and he showed up for himself. His sister thanked him for being present at her baby shower. Fully present, not distracted, not exhausted, just there. Chris realized that's all anyone ever really wanted. Not his yes, his presence. Here's the truth Chris learned. The truth you need to understand. Trying to please everyone is the fastest way to lose yourself. You become a collection of other people's needs instead of a person with your own. You trade your peace for approval that never satisfies. You give and give until you're empty. And the people who take never love you more for it. They just expect more. But when you start saying no, something powerful happens. The wrong people leave. That's painful but necessary. And the right people stay. They respect your boundaries. They value you for who you are, not what you provide. That's freedom. So, here's your challenge. This week, say no to one thing you'd normally say yes to. One request, one favor, one demand on your time or energy. Notice the guilt, sit with it, then notice something else. The space you create, the energy you keep, the respect you earn. If this story resonated, hit like. Comment one thing you're going to stop saying yes to. Share this with someone who needs permission to disappoint people who don't deserve their yes. Subscribe to The Vault for more truths that set you free. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Stop trying to please everyone. Start honoring yourself. What will you say no to today? Tell me below. Thank you for watching. Now go protect your peace. You've earned it.